Welcome to the Featured Anime Podcast. I'm your host, Jack.
And I'm Rick.
And today we are talking about Season 2 of Mashel, Magic and Muscles. But before that, we were just talking about computers, talking about Yu-Gi-Oh!, talking about Pokemon, talking about past and everything else, and how CJ likes to call us nerds because, in all honesty, we are. And who cares? But if you want to catch a part of that wider conversation, go to patreon.com/featured anime podcast, $8 a month to get you access to that bonus content, or you can join us live on Twitch when we stream. And of course, we'll also have our Discord, and all the information available to you is in the show notes as well. And if you go to Discord, talk to us, hang out with us, and you get also a little ping every time we go live on Twitch. And of course, let's not forget about Valentine's Day coming up here pretty soon. And you know what better thing to show your love than Tokyo Treats. If you use coupon code Featured Anime along with our affiliate link, you get $5 off that very first box. And trust me, it does not say I love you like Tokyo Treats. So again, if you use our affiliate link in the show notes along with coupon code Featured Anime, save yourself $5 off that very first box. And you also tell that certain special someone you love them, or tell your stomach that you love it, because guess what? You'll probably gorge the box too. Both are possible. And of course, we also have affiliate links for Crunchyroll, so that way you can get yourself a free trial and check out some wonderful anime that is available on there, and a link as well for the store, so you can get yourself a nice little discount off of their store too at the exact same time. All the information of it, everything else, is available to you in our show notes as well as on our website at featuredanimepodcast.com. And now on to the meat and potatoes. Mashel, Magic and Muscles came out, season 2 came out January 2024, ran all the way through March 2024. It is 12 episodes long. Producers for our Aniplex, 80K, just to name a couple. Studio for it is A1 Pictures. It is based off of a manga. The genres are action, comedy, fantasy, and parody as well. Now, season 2 is the direct continuation of season 1, so they do kind of backfill a little bit of the information so that way you can kind of figure out what's going on. And it is a direct continuation where Mashel is trying to become a divine visionary so that way he can live with his father, because he has no magic. And when I say his father, I mean his adoptive father. So, and this is just basically his continuation of that story where he's overcoming all these obstacles and encountering every point in between to make sure that he can reach that moment.
And that's the show. So we'll see you in it. No.
I was going to say, I mean, like, does that sound accurate? But judging from your reaction, I'm going to say, yeah, it sounds pretty accurate then.
Yeah, no, it sounds very accurate. Just like in season 1, the absurdity knows no bounds. It is, I've come to look at it in a different lens because, again, as we mentioned previously, it's a parody. Yes. And I did not know that it was a parody prior to the podcast. So I was far more harsh than I should have been. Looking at it through the lens of, let's say, One Punch Man with magic, it's much, much more entertaining. It's much better. And yes, it is. I'm not going to. So cookie cutter-ish is something I described it as last time. It's not quite there. If it was cookie cutter-ish, we've got some interesting animal crackers being thrown in the mix. But I mean, just like every show you watch, the main character is going to win. The main character is going to come through. It's very predictable in that sense, but the struggles I'm finding are very unique. I don't think is the correct way to put it, but it's not what I was expecting to see, and it's not what I was expecting to encounter, I guess. And right. the way that Mashel keeps resolving the situation, let's call it, very physical, obviously, very, very punchy, very kicky, very knee to the face kind of thing. We are learning far more about magic in this season than we ever did in season 1, and I really enjoyed the world building that it offered. I enjoy the fact that not everyone is the same. I liked the fact, beyond words they can describe, the fact that when you watch it, everyone can use the basic spells, but the specialty spells seem to be, I don't know if they're family oriented, like we were talking about before, because
they
one
are.
of the characters-
So we did talk about it being family oriented before. Season 2
Yes, we did.
proves that wrong. Season 2 proves that wrong. Okay, so everyone has their own personal magic spells, right? And at the beginning of season 1, we had talked about how that Magic Bureau, ex-Magic Bureau guy was, his magic may have been unique. We're not sure. Turns out that's just the generic kind of magic that everyone can use, even though they know
he was just strong.
Which for him, it was strong. Yeah. But compared to like some of the other people that are out there, like Margarita, they
Margarita.
I say Margarita because the last name is Macaroon, and it reminds me of macaroon. So Margarita Macaroon.
You're not wrong.
Okay. So, but you know, that was the generic style magic that apparently no one really likes to use for whatever reason, and everyone prefers their own personal brand of magic, which again, I get it, but at the exact same time, it's like, come on, guys, come on, you can do better.
I kind of get what you're saying, but this season definitely throws the idea that we had where magic was inherited, so to speak, out the window, because we've got two people, brothers. One is a main-ish character, friends with Mashel, one of the first friends that he considers in the show.
Yep.
And his older brother is crazy strong, and he uses nothing but swords and sword magic and sword everything. And his brother has swap magic, has I think it's a form of spatial manipulation.
Something. But the other thing that I really think is cool that we learned in season 2 as well is, so if you remember, you have Abel in season 1 where he had that third line. He was a kid, he had 2 lines. When he's older, he has third. And you find out that he artificially gained that third line. When someone truly gains a third line, it is vastly different, and you're able to truly unlock the wand, which then at the exact same time, you're not just limited to gaining an extra line or gaining 2 extra lines, right? You have the potential to gain any number, I would assume, right? So you could literally, probably, in my assumption, and correct me if I'm wrong, gain enough magic power to where you could have 20 lines on your face, right? Just like sitting there, and you just have marks all the way down, all over the place.
You're not wrong in that. Well, I should rephrase. My assumption matches yours, and there's nothing to dissuade that assumption as of yet. What they did say was the third line allows you access to more magic, access to unlock the true potential of your wand, because your wand apparently has a life force of its own, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there has not been someone who's got a fourth line, so to speak, but I did like the fact that you could grow your magic, and gain access to that threshold of the third line, potentially the fourth line. We haven't seen that yet, I don't think. I
interpreted that there was individuals that had a fourth line.
I thought the third line was the pinnacle that we saw.
The pinnacle. So because a little bit of spoilery territory. One of the main baddies looks to have a fourth line.
Which one? Oh, you're talking about really? You think so?
2 and then 2.
But,
2.
See,
and then
but here's
2.
the thing. I don't think the 2 and 2 matter like that, because
they weren't connected.
2 overlap. They weren't?
No, they weren't connected.
I thought they overlapped.
No, because you have another guy that has a very similar two lines on his eyes, and they don't overlap either. The only difference is how they end is different in between him and the other one. So I interpreted it as a fourth line. Like they actually had 4 lines. Correct me if I'm wrong. We have the Postman. Thanks for joining us, and very much appreciate you hanging out with us. And CJ, if you guys have ever seen or anything like that for Mashel season 2, and you can provide some clarification on it, I would greatly appreciate it. But yeah, my interpretation, my understanding is that you can totally get in 4th for sure.
Okay,
that is my understanding, right? That is what I view to be it.
So officially, I just had to look this up. Officially, there are no known 4-liners.
Right. Okay. CJ also said the exact same thing. They were under the assumption at first about being 4, but I think it's only supposed to be 2. What? So I don't know. I mean, like I'm just saying I don't see it, but that's beside the point, right?
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I just trying to make double check. In theory, it makes sense. In theory, it makes sense, but there's got to be a limit. And the reason why I think that there's been no 4th as of yet, again, this goes into a bit of a spoiler thing. The person who's got the most available magic has had his magic outpace his body, which means the magic inside is starting to deteriorate and tear the body apart, which is why they need a stronger body to house the magic potential, the magic available.
Right. Also needs to acclimate it so that way they can acclimate it into their body, so that way their body gets used to it. So that's nothing unusual, right?
I don't know. Like I couldn't tell you. Not properly, at least, because it was something I didn't think about too hard, because I thought it was self-explanatory is not the correct way to put it, but I thought it was basically spoon-fed, like right. His body can't handle the magic ability that he's currently got. Right. Which is why he's on the crusade that he's currently on.
Yeah, CJ says, I thought like you at first looked like 4 lines, but I believe they're only supposed to be 2 lines overlapping.
Well, see, that's why I said the 2 lines turned into 1, because they overlap. Because when they go with that third line, 2 new lines pop up on the other side, right? Which would indicate the 4 you're talking about. But if they're saying that there are only 3, does that mean that the two that technically overlap don't overlap? That's just one continuous thing that goes up to the hairline or something like that?
No, but they have characters where they have a second line that does overlap. And then you have other characters where the lines don't overlap and they have them on each side of their face for the 2 lines. So.
Okay. So I'm looking at it right now. He's got 2 arrows coming down from the iris of his eye, which is supposed to indicate they are connected. They're not separate.
Okay.
They do converge right underneath his eye, so it's 1 line.
Okay. See, that makes sense, right? Because how it looks, right? It looks
like it's coming out of the eye.
Yeah, it looks like it's coming out of the eye, because there's another character where it's kind of like that, where it comes out of the eye.
Yeah.
Right. So that
means they were a single liner to begin with. They weren't born gifted. Which means they
you have a lot of other people that also used to be single liners that can gain 2 extra lines of magic as well.
Yes.
And
I do agree with that.
They also have like the ability at some point, then I would assume, to gain a 4th line at that point, right? There is no,
I feel like it'd be easier.
Yeah, I feel like there's no cap on it. But anyways, beside the point, getting back on track, right? You also have season 2 for Mashel, where people actually find out he doesn't have magic, and he's just kind of cruising along.
Is outed.
Hardcore. hardcore. But the people, some of the strongest people don't even care that he doesn't have magic. They just like want to fight him, or they're just like, hey, he bested me even though he doesn't have magic. I have nothing to say against the guy. Like, he's able to do stuff literally no one else can do.
There were so many people who were like, he did that. He beat me without magic? No, he must have. And they convince themselves that he's got magic just so that they know that they're not like, he kicked my butt and he's a lesser being than myself. How am I going to have to rationalize this? Yeah,
well, not even that, right? Not just that, I should say. It's also at the exact same time, he's still calling out like magic biceps attack, magic this attack, magic that, magic muscles and this and that.
Tricep magic.
Yeah, and people are totally buying into it. And one of the characters even points out, one of the higher up characters straight up just says, like, literally, is no one going to just call him out for saying it's magic when it's not? Is like, this a thing? Is this really happening? Which I love.
Oh, they did a lot more of that this season, where they just ended up. What was that flashback? Is that what you really think? Like, yeah. A few people were able to see them, and I it wasn't the main character, obviously, but it was. They're like, hold on, wait a second. You actually believe that? Like, what was that? What's going on there? And no one ever acknowledged them calling out the fourth wall break, and or the cutscene. They're like, hold on, wait, what's going on? But no. Okay, I guess we're gonna continue fighting.
Yeah. You also, what's really great about this second season too is they actually do dive deeper into the lore of the world, which is great because you get a little bit more world building in this one. You have more background and story that's happening in this one. First one was just pure comedy, no real world building aside from the character building in the first season. Second season, you still have that character building, but now you have that coupled in with the world building that is happening at the exact same time. And you have some of the more darker sides of magic, some of the more harsh portions of the magic really kind of coming to light. And then you have the deeper meaning behind the wands too, where it's not just, cool. and they don't just lightly, like, they don't just say, hey, you have to upgrade your magic every so often. They do it in a very convenient way, an easily digestible way at the exact same time, because you have to change your wand with your as your power grows.
You may outgrow your wand because your wand is a stagnant tool. Just like if you were a blacksmith and you start with a 3-pound hammer, it might be good old trusty, but it's not going to do the work of a 5-pound hammer. Once you build those muscles up, once you get acclimated to a 3-pounder, and you could do the same work with less effort with a heavier hammer.
Well, I mean, like, it reminds me from the Harry Potter movie. The wand chooses the wizard.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
Yeah. Which in this case, it quite literally does. You stand in a room, you flex your magic power, so to speak, and your wand goes, I will come to you. And it resonates and it chooses you. With the exception of Mash, who doesn't have any magic. And then there's the whole story about this magic wand that no one ever can pick up, not even magic. Dude just picks it up and then later on turns it into a racket. Like, bro, 100%. That's amazing.
Yeah, he goes, transformation magic. It's a solid steel piece of wand, essentially. And when he picks it up, he unleashes the mythical fairy falls or whatever it is to help the wand maker imbue more wands with magic. And
no, it's just like it's a story that he was long since told, and he says, thank you for letting me see this. I thought I'd never be able to see this ever in my life. And that's all it basically was. It's like, hey, this legendary story happened and no one knows really what's happening, but that one just happens to be sitting there, and there you go.
Yeah. Could you imagine? Wouldn't it be awesome if somewhere down the line we find out that the wand was sitting on that spring for so long, it absorbed enough magic power that even someone without magic is able to cast regular spells. They just have to use the incantations and try.
That would be amazing. I wonder.
Not gonna happen, but
Yeah. Oh, I wonder if that wand, that metal wand, will come to full circle, right? At some point in the future.
explain. I don't understand.
So they talked about like ancestral, magical, mythical wands that.
Yeah, the 13 god tier. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even that they're god tier. It's like they're the 13. They're ancient, the most ancient of wands, right? The most powerful of wands. And for you to be chosen by one is just miraculous, right? What if, right? There was this magical, mythical wand, right? And it just happened to be that metal one. And the only way to utilize the full power of said wand is for someone to not have magic to be able to utilize the wand. And then they get imbued with magic or right. So it is possible for you to gain magic, right? For you to grow your magic. Who is to say now, granted, it's probably never been done in the world, but who's to say at some point he can't gain magic, like actual magic?
Yeah, no, I understand what you're talking about. And it's something I did think about. Going through a few things you find out. For instance, the big bad of last season was the blonde dude who was wearing a weird hairlet, if you will. He dealt with what magic he dealt with? Spikes, I want to say, metal spikes, iron spikes. And Mashel decided to just introduce him to what a 5-finger sandwich tastes like. We find out that this magician isn't naturally born. It was a corpse reanimated by the big bad's blood, And I'm like, if your blood is so powerful that it not only reanimates a corpse, but imbues it with magic and gives it kind of a sentience, wouldn't a simple blood transfusion potentially give Mashel ability?
I'm going to be honest. I must have missed that part where he used his blood to revitalize someone or bring someone back. I'm gonna be honest.
Okay.
I must have missed that part. You know the character
I'm talking about? The yellow-haired one that did the ball of spike? Yeah, so he calls the big bad father because he's a reanimated corpse. He was injected with blood.
I mean, I know that he can reanimate corpses. It's a forbidden magic. I know there was a character that was also reanimated and brought back to life. I should say, where they would be able to, use their original magic still, but I don't remember Cell War, which is what he's called, Cell War, ever being reanimated.
Let me find out where it was.
But that's beside the point. I mean, like, going in general, regardless of whether or not he was reanimated, right? Regardless of that, in theory, I feel like that is true no matter who does a blood transfusion, right? If you were to do a blood transfusion into someone that has no magic, it would give them magic. However, I think that it would probably be temporary if you were to do it that way, because your body either hasn't learned to do it on its own, or you haven't gotten to a point to where your body can do it on its own. But regardless of whether or not that's the case, I feel like eventually, even if you were to continue doing the blood transfusion, that'd probably be an eventuality. But who knows, right? We don't know. I don't know. You don't know. No one knows. I don't think they're ever going to truly come around and give us that information, so to speak, And I also feel like maybe because how Mashel's eyes sometimes glow when he's sitting there and he's doing his fighting or anything like that, and he starts calling out his magic, how he's so inhuman with his strength and speed and everything else. I feel like he probably does have magic. It's just not enough to formulate a line.
Why not?
Why does he not have enough magic to formulate a line?
Yeah, because it's been stated that he doesn't have magic at all.
Because he doesn't have a line. The way that they can identify someone who doesn't have magic is with the line on them. And when the line disappears, and you learn about this in season 1, you can get a disease where it causes your magic to start disappearing or dissipating, right? and the line starts slowly erasing. Not that you have a permanent mark in your gash in your cheek, right? He probably has enough magic to cause his eyes to change a color, right? Because you can see that little, like, it looks like you have a little bit of magic power in you type thing. And he's so inhuman with the strength. It's just that he doesn't have enough magic for it to actually show he has magic with a line.
Okay.
I feel like that's also probably true for everyone else in that world that doesn't, I'm going to use air quotes, doesn't have magic. They probably have some semblance of magic in them, but because they don't have enough to be able to do anything with it, it just stays stagnant. But who knows, right? It's just my own formulation, my own theories of like, hey, this totally could be a thing. Because it's not, because the mark is the only signifier that you have magic. And if you have no mark, the assumption is you have no magic.
I mean, yes, that you're not loved by God, which is why you weren't gifted the ability to use magic.
Right. So
you think that maybe they just don't have enough to form a line, but they have the ability to use some of it in some capacity, maybe?
Yeah, at some point or whatever, they may be able to gain enough magic or work up to a point to where they could form a line for it, or at the exact same time, because, you know, Abel in season 2 confirms that he got his third line artificially, right? That there may be a way to artificially give people magic who literally don't have magic. So there's, I don't know, thoughts, all these thoughts, all these theories and everything like that are out there. Just, I mean, there's so much more that happens in season 2. You have so many more questions that happen in season 2 that come out of season 2. And you can't help but go, man, there's all this extra stuff that could be, all these different possibilities start getting, in my mind, interjected into everything everywhere at the exact same time. Because his strength is not human. Even as a baby, his strength and agility and everything like that was not human. And they point that out. Beyond. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah.
Well, so my question with that would be, given what we know, do you think that he actually does have immense power? It just isn't. Okay. So here's my line of thought. Have you ever seen Spy Kids? A long time ago, maybe.
I probably have.
There's a premise in there. So their grandfather's in a wheelchair. And the premise that they went along with was because he's not using his legs, all of his IQ went up because of the carbs and the energy put into walking was recirculated through the body in the form of IQ, arm strength, all this other stuff. So is it possible that he does have the ability for, talking about Mashel, has the ability for massive magic, but because he's not using it, it's been repurposed for his body. You know what I mean? Like he lacked one, and to compensate, instead of it being used for this, it was now used for his body and his abilities to kick air and fly. So like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did that make sense? Because I mean, that would be really the only reason why I could think that he has such an immensely powerful body.
Well, like I said, so yeah, right. He probably hasn't magic, just not enough to formulate a line. And then at the exact same time, it's just being focused internally instead of externally. And that's why. So, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I realize I probably just reiterated exactly what you were trying to say.
Yeah.
But the way you said it didn't quite.
What? Didn't quite jive
sense
with you? So what?
Yeah,
the fact that he doesn't have enough. Fit. Right. So what you're saying is, hang on. So what you're saying is,
what I'm saying is he has immense magic. He has immense magic, and you're saying he doesn't have enough to draw the line. I'm saying he has too much, or something along the line. It was redirected, and let's say that magic is following circuitry, like chi lines and stuff. Like he just doesn't have those, so he's not able to use proper magic until. I'm hoping something else happens where it kind of like forces those pathways to open up, and he's able to like, oh, magic.
Yeah.
I mean, probably not going to, considering the name of the show is Muscles.
Well, I mean, the name is just Mashel, but it's Mashel, Magic and Muscles. Magic and Muscles.
Oh, okay. So there's hope.
So, Anyways, I don't have too much more on it
without going into extreme spoiler territory.
Yeah. And to kind of reiterate, this is a parody. It is enjoyable. It is fun, but while it does have its comedic moments, it does a lot more world building on top of that at the exact same time.
It leads me to believe there's going to be a season 3.
Oh, and for sure.
Very hopeful for it. One of the guys I was talking to about it previously said that he's read the source material on it and it gets awesome. And I'm like, but it's already pretty cool. He goes, it gets better. Oh, okay. I look forward to it. I hope they remain at least somewhat faithful to the source material.
So,
but yeah, like it's one thing that is a spoiler, but I don't think it's too big of a spoiler. Is MASH has siblings.
Yeah. Anyways, yes, the past for Cell is you are correct. At some point in the past, this is all that it says for his past. At some point in the past, and is it Zero created Cell from a corpse using his own blood. That's it. That's all we know. That's pretty straight to the point for his past. What was his past before that? No one knows. No one cares. All right. Cool. So on a scale of up to 10, sir, how would you rate this?
I'm going to give it an 8. I would say I'm pretty comfortable with an 8 because it didn't deserve a 10. It's not perfect. It's not my cup of tea. So I can't really be like, I didn't like it, but it is very, I mentioned it before, and it's cookie cutterish, but it's cookie cutterish in a very satisfactory manner. It gets most of the good points, most of the high points. It does leave a very open-ended last episode, but it's meant to be, which is good. It does make me want to see a season 3, season 4 potentially. One of the things that doesn't bring it to a 9, obviously the 10 because it's not my cup of tea, but the thing that keeps it away from a 9 is it felt very gaggish. You know what I mean? Like it felt very the tricks, let's call them the entertaining parts, the oh shucks, I don't have magic seem to be very overplayed, and Mashel seem to be very incompetent isn't the right way to put it. But because he's very competent, anything he sets his mind to, he does, be it sheer stupidity or plot. But they play they play a little too hard that he's dumb. Like for instance, in Dragon Ball Super, what was the one with Baby?
GT.
So in Dragon Ball GT, thank you. They played too hard that Goku's always hungry. Here, I think they played too hard that Mashel's stupid.
Okay.
So that's why it doesn't get a 9 out of me.
Okay. I mean, I feel like they played to it just as much as they did in the first one in this one, except this one, they had to really kind of push the, hey, bro, being a part of the Divine Visionary, you have to be kind of literate. So they pushed him to be literate is what they did. And I think that's where you're probably getting like, oh, they leaned heavily into it. It's like, no, it was just always there. They just took an episode to focus on him gaining a little bit of intelligence.
That sounds appropriate. Yeah.
That being said, I'm going to go I'm going down 1 from where I was last week. And the reason why I'm going down 1 from where I was last week is because I have a lot more questions. There's a lot more that happens in this one that I feel like I was kind of gypped out of answers, and they didn't go into, I feel like, enough information or enough detail. This could have easily been a 24 episode, 26 episode.
Oh yeah.
Anime season. It easily could have been that. Unfortunately, it was not that. So I'm just left with a lot of questions. That is not to say that it is not worth the watch. It is definitely worth the watch. It does do a lot more world building. It does have those comedic moments. It is very easy to watch. That is for sure. So, yeah. So 8 and 8. So next week, we are going to be watching a recommendation from Major Montana in our Discord. Hey, thank you for the recommendation. And we're going to be watching Magical Girl Spec-Ops Asuka, which is 12 episodes long. They said it's being recommended because it is a dark and serious take on magical girls and combat PTSD. So I am looking forward to it. We're going a little bit further for that darker motif. I mean, like we've watched a lot of lighthearted and enjoyable shows. I feel like we need to get something a little bit more serious, a little bit
back on track,
a little bit more hard hitting. So I'm looking forward to that, to this week's coming choice. If you feel like we did too much justice, not enough justice, or anything like that, feel free to reach out to us. All the contact information is available on our website at featureanimepodcast.com, as well as in the show notes. And you could always join us in Discord and wherever we're streaming. Feel free to come hang out with us. And of course, until next time, I'm Jack.
I'm Rick, and we'll see you next time.